Hello everyone, how's it going? It's StarSedz here, and in today's video we're gonna have an in-depth review of the cheapest key upgrade you can make. This is the flip leg key that copies the E90 BMW key style. We're going to be going over the main advantage that is commonly used in this type of key is the fact that it can be open and you can retrofit your original BMW chip into this key and have a new upgraded key without doing any programming. We're going to be doing this in my car to see how it works as well as the other features. Now the quality of this key is pretty good. It's the widest of them all and the buttons feel good. The quality with the flip blade works well and it's very fast. There is one thing I don't like about this key, and as you can tell as I'm closing it right here, look how much I have to press into it until it actually closes. In a normal day-to-day use, I think that's very inconvenient, and I don't see it as something very helpful. Watch. I'm going to press this all the way against the bottom, and it does not lock in place, and I don't think that's a very good thing on a day-to-day basis where you're just using the key and you have to actually press this blade all the way down and then tuck it in. And if you have big bulky hands, that might be even harder to use. Throughout the entire process, everything else has been really well. The flip blade is good, the buttons are good, it feels sturdy, it doesn't feel like something that will break or open and fall. But that's the only con about this, is that this blade needs to go all the way down in order for it to close, and that's super inconvenient. You can see in comparison with this other slightly more expensive key, I'm able to actually close it by just pressing it on itself. This is very easy to use on a regular basis compared to the other key. Now either way, you can see that I have the blade cut, and we're going to go ahead and test it on the car and see how it works with that. It should be just fine because it uses the same blade, but there's actually an issue with these type of keys. Now you can see how this thing is actually wider than a regular diamond shaped BMW key, and I'm going to show you where that's an issue. Okay, I'm going to try this on the trunk lock. You're going to see that it absolutely has no issues. It opens it with no problem. Now I knew that the key was bulky, wider than the original key, but that actually didn't seem like a problem with me. Because of the fact that it's wider, it just feels more sturdy, is more confidence inspiring when you're using it. But there was an issue with my car with this type of key. Now I have a BMW Z4, so in my guess, this little keyhole is much narrower than the other vehicles. In fact, I'm almost sure it is, but this also causes a problem. Because this key is so wide, when I put my key inside the ignition, it does not go in all the way because the wider part of this key does not allow it to go all the way in. And you're going to see that I have the key as far in as I can, and it doesn't go in. In fact, the only way it can go in is when I press the button and I tilt it slightly to the side like this, which allows the blade to go all the way in. And watch. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Make sure it's all the way in. Try to do it at an angle. And now it works. Although I was able to get it in and turn the ignition, this is not practical. And if you have a BMW Z4 like me, or maybe even a BMW Z3, I do not recommend it, simply for the fact that this keyhole ring might be too narrow in order for this to properly work. Now I'm going to try to get this off. I have it out, and as you can see, it's not very convenient to do something like this every single time you're using it. Besides that, if you have a 3 Series, a 5 Series, 7 Series, just anything besides the Z3 and the Z4, I don't think you'll have this issue because yours is going to be a lot wider. But if you have a Z4 or a Z3, I do not recommend this type of key. if you don't mind the fact that you have to press the blade rather far in order for it to lock in place, and you don't have a Z4 or a Z3, so you won't have a problem placing the key into the ignition, let's go ahead and go over the main point of this key, which is where you can retrofit an original chip to this new key blade. The process on how to open this key is rather simple, and all you're going to need is a flathead screwdriver. Now on the side where the key blade goes, you're going to see that there's a little crack right there, and with that crack you want to get your flathead screwdriver and you want to pry it open. And I'll go ahead and provide this video tutorial right now, but it's a very easy process on how to open this. Okay, now that we have the key open, you can see that there are two spaces. This one right here can show an outline of the remote for the diamond shaped keys, and this one right here is for the transponder. Now, it turns out that with my original chip, as you can see here, I'm not actually able to place it into the little spot that it's supposed to be in. As you can tell, it tries to go in. In fact, one time I was very close to getting it in, but it does not go all the way in because this little guy, where is it? Right here, this little chip right there does not actually allow it to fit into its spots. And this actually turns out to be a problem with some cars, is that the chip that originally came with your car is different from the aftermarket keys, and it is not able to go in. Now, I also have this chip right here, which is an aftermarket chip. Doesn't have any of that stuff, and you're going to see that this key easily fits into this. Let me just get it on the right side first. As you can tell right here, it fits perfectly, doesn't wiggle, and it's easy to do. Now this thing right here is a transponder chip, and you just simply place it on its side into that little indentation right there, and that's all you have to do. I was able to put my original chip into this and not actually have it completely on, but to just close it like that, and I was able to turn the vehicle on, of course with the key slightly tilted so it could fit in the ignition. Now from what I've had, all of my experiences with this, and I've also found another problem, that some people have their chips so far away from the ignition in this setup that it doesn't turn their vehicle on. So I'm gonna go ahead and give out some more thoughts and end this review of this key. Now, in conclusion, if you have a diamond shaped key and you were thinking of simply taking your chip out of your old key, placing it into this new key and having it cut and having everything good to go without programming, I do not recommend this key. For one reason, people like me had issues trying to fit their original chip into this new shell, and it doesn't work in that sense. And then in another situation where it does work, your distance from the transponder to the ignition might be so far that it doesn't actually turn the car on. Now another problem with that is that if you're going to try and just take a gamble, you have to slice your original key open, which would be very terrible because they're glued shut, and opening it after that can actually destroy the key. I do not recommend it. Now, if you have this older style key with this different dented style blade, I highly recommend this for you because your key is older and it actually uses a different type of way to turn the car on. Instead of having a built-in chip into this remote right here, you have this little transponder chip. Now, I recommend that you buy this with the remote, so you get one with the chips, which is about $15, and all you do is get your old transponder chip from your old key, put it into the new key, and that's all you're gonna have to do. And in that case, I do highly recommend it, unless you have a BMW Z3 where the ignition might be too small for your car. In conclusion, if you have a diamond shaped key and you want to upgrade to this, I do not recommend it. But if you have the older style key with the dented blade that uses a transponder chip, I do recommend this setup, and it's very easy for you to do. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope this helped you out in your situation. I'll be making a review of the other two keys soon, so if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I thank you once again for watching, and I hope you have a good one. Peace.